It's dark, it's cold, and it's frosty outside, so what better way to spend your free time than diving into a bizarre, spine-chilling Gothic novel that you've been meaning to read for a few years now? Well, that's what I'm here to advocate for today, for you to read more Gothic fiction this winter. It's so funny, I'm part of a book club, which I only attend because I love all the people present. Their taste in literature is very different from my own, and they would say the same about mine. And I can see the dread in their eyes when they pick a book from the list of recommendations, and they suddenly realise it's by me, so they know it's going to be something weird and disturbing. But at this time of year, I would argue, we have no excuses, because winter is made for unhinged Gothic literature. Winter and the Gothic are deeply indebted to the imagery of decay. Natural decay, moral decay, emotional, architectural and corporal ruin. Nothing mirrors the rotting deterioration of society and morality than the natural world around us rotting under the weight of extreme temperatures and unforgiving weather. In other words, death. Winter and the Gothic force us to examine the many shades of death, metaphoric and literal. The Gothic rejected the bourgeois sense of self in favour of spiritual health, which should have been built by innumerable acts of social, emotional and stylistic mimicry, an existence of mutual compliance with which all men yield to each other, as Edmund Burke wrote himself. Gothic's subcultural relation to Christianity blends rather beautifully with the dying yet not extinct embers of religiosity underlying contemporary Christmas festivities, which still prop up moral goodness as the core motivator. He's making a list and checking it twice, going to find out who's naughty and nice. Gothic literature has always exposed the terrors of the world, exposing the Achilles heels of the mind and reminding us all that nothing is safe from decay. Yet it offers us alternatives, uncomfortable ones of that, which force us to be introspective and thus vomit forth the personal truths which society tells us we should be ashamed of and keep hidden or else face social exile. But the spectres will haunt us regardless. Pain is an inevitable part of human experience. As Wallace Stevens writes, quote, "Except for us, Vesuvius might consume, in solid fire the utmost earth and no pain, ignoring the cocks that crow us up to die. This is a part of the sublime from which we shrink, and yet, except for us, the total past felt nothing when destroyed." There's something strangely life-affirming when one reads about death, whilst surrounded by the death of nature, and yet we continue to breathe. The exhilaration of the Gothic makes one feel very much alive, and still one with our decaying nature. We are fated for the same ending, yet one resurrects every season whilst the other watches on, longing for the second chance, the second rising that is never fulfilled, no matter how tightly many cling on to the mythology of such an outcome. Don't you love the melodrama of it all? That's the Gothic, I know I do. It's far more entertaining to watch a dead author unravel at the state of the world than watch others do so far less artistically over on Twitter. And yes, I shall call it Twitter, never X. Not out of conviction built on accuracy, but out of spite. There's something oddly soothing as well about being scared or unsettled in a controlled way. Gothic novels are like psychological fires, keeping the cold at bay whilst we employ their lenses to examine our fears, and the beauty that can be carved out from the moss-covered, weathered stone that we call planet Earth. In 2018, Sarah Perry wrote that the Gothic is not a genre, but, quote, a sensation like hunger or desire, and like hunger or desire, you may be hard-pressed to describe it, but you'll know it when you feel it. Such a sentiment echoes that of the infamous quote by Angela Carter from 1975, when she declared, "We live in Gothic times." Well, what did that mean? Well, for Carter, and many since then, the Gothic preoccupation with horror, madness, monstrosity, death, disease, terror, evil, and weird sexuality mirrors the psychological horror of the awful things humans do to one another, animals and the world, from wars to cruelty, caging creatures up, exiling others, destroying the landscape for personal gain at the expense of other people and the future of the world for those who will live on it. We live in Gothic times because of the vanity, selfishness, greed, and seemingly innate evil which seems to be embedded in human psyche is far more appealing and easier to access than kindness, consideration, thoughtfulness, peace, and generosity. The Gothic doesn't sugarcoat it at all. It props itself up on the fear, intense mental states, and pernicious unease of being a human. And, like Ebenezer Scrooge, Christmas time may be the perfect time of year to get that wake-up call. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing for more. My name is Cinzia. I have all my social medias down below, but I'm more actually active on my newsletter, so please consider signing up for that. For future writing programs, if you're interested in writing and reading, the Confessions of a Bibliophile is down below. Thank you as always to my patrons for making this possible, and I'll see you soon for another bit of nerdmas later on. Be happy and healthy. And books save lives, so keep reading.